Hi, and welcome back to Graphic Gets Good. Today I've got a deck profile for you, but not done by myself, done by one of our players over on our Discord, Lily. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, it's me, I'm Lily, also known as RK Inc.
So Lily won our Omnimon Cup, went undefeated with a LordKnightmon deck, but as you see, it's a little different from the traditional LordKnightmon decks.
Yeah, let's kick it off.
So if you just want to talk through it all and then go from there.
Okay, yeah, so the eggs, as you can see, are in a slightly strange setup. Whereas normally it's 4-1, I went for 2-3. Yeah, so what I found with this deck was the utility. Because not all the time will you be on 3 security, not all the time it will have 3 Digimon out. So I found having a mixture of the two of them allowed me to give more flexibility into the play.
Do you feel like that worked out when you were playing it? Like in theory, did it come out in
Yes,
practice?
yeah, like when it comes to the point of, like, when you're starting the game, you want to see Pikmon, you get Pikmon out, so that's hence why he's the 3 of. He'll start breaking through boards, you get the pressure, and then later game when you're lower on security, the core one starts putting in the work. Because it's a great when you've got like a Lord Knight out, you've got the Knightmon in hand, you just play it. You use that, you then drop something by 4, and then you drop, say, a blocker they've got that's got an extra 1k, you just use the Coromon to delete it.
Nice. So worked out a good ratio then. And then we've got your level 3s.
Yes, the level 3 party. It's quite the variation. Yeah, so the rookie ratios were probably the hardest thing for me to figure out in this deck, because there's just so many good level 3s in yellow. So what I started on was the 4-Starmon, because let's face it, this card is probably one of the best rookies in yellow.
Yeah, hands down.
If not the best at this point. Like, just on play, it's just getting rid of stuff, removing bits, getting extra bodies, and the fact that it counts itself. So if you're at like 3 memory and you need to drop something really bad, you got 2 of these in hand, you just drop them. You got more bodies out, and then they potentially reduce something that's a threat. And then, of course, the other best yellow Pulsemon. What can we say about this thing's versatility? It gains your memory, it draws your cards, it gets you on brick. This is something I know quite well from this tournament,
Yeah.
as we've seen from certain games.
Yeah, you
But no,
definitely had
this
a
thing is an
good
absolutely
break.
insanely versatile card. Yeah, I would definitely not play anything less than 4.
Luckily, due to the tournament, the Evo Cup, people are going to be able to get some more. So hopefully everyone's
Indeed,
going to have a
indeed.
playset
Hopefully
to
the
play
people
with.
drop some price hopefully on those. But yeah, so for the Bushi, like, this card, I was a bit iffy on it at first. I was playing it at 2, then I was playing it at 1. Then I was like, I need to see this card more because it's insane. And it's also a thing that some people I've seen not consciously play around when they have to do so. Where if they know that they're gonna, like, they're like 1 away from lethal and they need a blocker out, they just hard play a blocker. And normally times I just push you to 5, because they just like, okay, cool, the swing, and then out of nowhere you just drop the Bushy. Or again, you just play it off of the Lord Knight, and it's like, well, there's that 1 extra attack you needed.
Yeah, I think
So
that's the
yeah,
thing with the yellow rookies. You never know what they're going to have, so you never know if you're going to have to play around a Bushy.
yeah, this is why I always like this thing, because it's a constant threat. Unless you've specifically gone through all of them, then, like, you know that there's always going to be a chance that you can just play one of these out, and it's going to be an immediate threat. And then you've got the underlying MVP of the tournament, the 2 Kotemon. This little guy put in more work than I expected him ever to do so. He searches, and 99% of the time you will find that he will just hit all of your good stuff and then throw him to the bottom of the deck, and you'll be very sad. But somehow this tournament, this little guy was an absolute god. He was hitting Lord Knights and hitting Knightmons left, right, and center. So I was very happy to have him in there, because it's just like the serious amount of advantage you get from this guy. If you can hit like that, especially if you hit like Lord Knight and the Knightmon combo, you're really good. But of course, with the extra tech that I have in this deck, there's also another added use for him as well. And then another one that's a bit questionable, that some people might think, one of Patamon. So I was running through this what to cut for the current ratios I have, and out of all the rookies, I found that if any rookie needs to be cut in this set deck, it's Patamon. Because with how the current works with your eggs, especially since with the Digiburst from the War Growlmon, you're probably going to be trashing it anyway. So generally finding the memory gain doesn't matter as much in the newer yellow builds, because you've just not got enough control over them. And it's just going to just get Digibursted away. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to cut him down and I'm going to play the Kote ones instead. And then the one of that's just, it's there, you see it coming, you don't see it coming, it's you just drop the Lucimon, you recover one, you have fun, your opponent doesn't, but you do. It's ridiculous, it's just a hard play, it's 10k, and it's like, yes, you recover one as well. It's insane.
So me and Holy have been looking at a lot of yellow lists at the moment because we've had a lot of yellow tops, and it's funny, you either see them play a one of Lucimon or one of the promo Patamon just to gain that recovery. But I see more people running the Patamon just because obviously if they're in a brick they can Digivolve up it, and obviously if you're stuck with a Lucimon your options are hard play it or leave it in your hand.
Yeah, no, I was quite happy to run that risk because yellow's security, as we know, is terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
So I thought if we at least have a big boy and could potentially be in security as well, it can catch people off guard. And again, as I say, it is just it's an unconditional recover. And he's also great in later game because he just becomes like a 5-drop. So he's essentially just a Bushi that instead just recovers and it's just a 10k body.
So would you change anything of your rookie lineup, or are you kind of set?
No, I'd say I mathed this quite extensively to try and get this ratio down right, and I think it paid off. Yeah, I wouldn't change any of the rookies currently. I mean, I could potentially look at cutting the Patamon at some point, but I do think just having that one of in there just as an extra bit, you just got to sit under a blocker or something, is quite handy. But I say it depends upon how the meta evolves and whatnot as to what I do with that. Yes, this is the most boring part of this because it's every single yellows. So yeah, so there's not really much to say about this one. Jurumon is just your standard 1-cost Evo, just get up to your level 6 as fast as possible card. There's not really much to say about this thing. It's good. It Evos for 1. It gets it up. It's 6k, which is actually rather important this format, considering it plays around things like Shout, Nidhogg, and all of that sort of fun things that like to be thrown at this deck. Then you've got the Patamon. It's your 1-cost blocker. He comes in, he does his work. There's no way of saying other than these two are probably the two biggest staples in yellow level 4s because they're just cheap to evolve into. Yeah, no, so I only played 3 Unimon because it's good, but again it's a 2 Evo, but I found I'm already running 4 blockers there, so running 7 I think was enough, because I was finding in especially in BT4 with War Grey and stuff, I wasn't drawing enough blockers, and it's also just a 5-cost hard play, which is not bad. And honestly, I did it quite a few times, and it does come in. I just really like the fact that it's also against 6k, which is so much more important in this format. It really sort of allows you to play around a lot more.
Yeah, I'm definitely an advocate of those 6k blockers this format.
Yeah, I would recommend most colours play them if they can. Yeah, it's a bit more to annoyance to Evo into, but at the same time, they just get around so much more, and then your opponent has to waste resources to out them. And then there's the one of Gladimon. I mean, this is what I cut the 4th Unimon for. I was trying to put him in here, and this is why I wouldn't play any more than him. But on those games where you don't have much, he's just a 4-cost level 4 to drop, and then he can potentially unbrick you with your security stack. Because all the stuff you want to add, he adds off of it, basically. The only thing he wouldn't add is a War Growl.
Yeah, I guess it gives you another option to look into your security and see what you've got in there as well. So potentially plan ahead now, okay, I've got a TK in there, that might pop out soon, so I might not play one now.
Yeah, because even if you don't have a target, you at least gain the knowledge of what's in your security, which is a massive advantage in terms of information. Yeah, so no, he did come up, and he has been pretty good. And again, he's also another target to add off of Kotemon. Or you can just play him with Lord Knight if you really need to try and find something else to try and recoup your hand. Yeah, so there's not really much to say about level 4s. Unfortunately, it's very basic when it comes to them. But hey ho, that's what we do with yellow at the moment. And yes, this is again pretty standard. 4 War Growls. They put in the work. You can just leave one in raising, wait for the right moment, bring it out, drop something by 4k, and then finish it off essentially. The best part is this as well is like if you force the Lord Knight in the mirror, if you can force the Lord Knight out and you've got your 3 memories, so you got your TK set up or whatnot, that this just outs it by itself essentially. You can just drop it, go into the Lord Knight, swing over it, and play whatever else you want to do with it. And then the Knightmon, it is exactly as it would say. It's just, you can play it for free off of Lord Knight. It can drop something by 4k. What more do you want? Like, this thing can, if you've got more of these in your hand, this thing can just spirals out of control. Because you just get to the point where, like in one of my games, where you end up with 3 Lord Knights in the field, just like your opponent looking at you like, well,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to out this.
So
Like,
obviously,
it's insane just being able to play a level 5 for free that does something on play.
so obviously looking at this list, there's a few level 5s you see in other lists. We'll play both Angel Women's in lists recently. So how comes you kind of moved away from those two?
Okay, so yeah, so the Magna Angemon and the 2 Angel ones, so the recovery one and the inheritable security attack one.
Yeah.
So the reason I did that is because they're just not good coming out of raising. Whereas Lightmon's a vanilla, so he doesn't matter. But like War Ground immediately does something coming out of raising. And like, although yeah, you can get the attention, you get the additional body off of Angemon, you're not always going to have that extra level 3 in hand. So I was just like, I'd rather just use what the LordKnightmon can do and spiral out that way instead of having to worry about committing to anything else, because then you get to the point where like because War Growl can boost your Lord Knight even bigger and could potentially be the difference in the mirror as well. So I wouldn't change any of those ones. I do think that the 4-4 ratio for myself is correct. Like, I do see the merits to running both of the other two, but I find they're a bit win more, which is why I prefer to try and do it as much consistency as I possibly could.
Yeah, it's more consistent and it gives you more control over the board as well.
Indeed, and that's why I play this like heavily control instead of more aggro. Like certain ways. Level 6s, Lord Knight. What do I need to say about this card that hasn't been said already? It's insane. Like, just on play, like on swing, just play something randomly out your hand, get a loose one out, get a light one out, get a draw of your pulse one, potentially gain a memory from it, search from a Kotemon, drop something with pulse with Starmond. It's ridiculous. Like, this is another reason why this card, like, I've dropped Patamon to 1, because it doesn't do anything on play. Because like playing out a Patamon from the Lord Knight actually feels kind of bad because you're not really gaining any advantage. So I just felt that this is probably the best way of dealing with it. So there's not really much else to really say about Lord Knight. It's just insane. Like, it just does everything. And then there's the one of the War Greymon. So this card I've seen a few lists like not even give this a second look, but this card is an absolute like insane card for the mirror match. It outs the Lord Knight, it restands, it can potentially swing again, it can clear through multiple things, and like, yeah, it can drop your security stack as well to potentially get your Koromon alive. There's so much utility in this card that I think is being overlooked. I prefer to play this over a Slash Angemon because it can apply additional pressure. Because you've got 2 swings going from that, and then if you've got that out, people are going, oh no, this is going to start swinging and start causing havoc, so I need to get rid of it now. We can force people's hands as well. And I found that it's come up far too many times not to warrant to keep playing it. It's just an overall insane utility card, and a card that should not be like undervalued at all, especially in this format. Because it's the best part about it as well. The 6K, it can delete those 6K blockers that people think are safe, and then you just spiral from there. The only issue with it being is it's being so little. But at the end of the day, you've got to take that risk in order to progress the game state. Sometimes having no hesitation can win you that game. And then the tech. The mascot
card.
I have been playing this in yellow since 1.5 as a single copy in every single yellow deck. It's just insane. It can buy you a turn, it can out a potential problem, and it also is a card that your opponent has to physically play around, because they have to work out how they want to remove it without it threatening their own board. Because if it blows up and they've got something that they don't want to lose, then it's going to have to they have to try and deal with that, and it's really awkward for them to work out the best way to get rid of it. Because you can also just crash this something bigger to drop it down to something else to take it out. There's so much utility in this card, it's ridiculous. And if you just need to try and stall for that one turn, then you can easily do it with it. It's come up far too many options. And the best part about it, it's a holy warrior. So it can be searched with both Gladiamon and Kotemon. So it's essentially just another target to potentially be hit in the deck. And it has been hit a few times as well. Like there's no way I can replace this one. It just gives far too much utility. And then of course you've got the two Volder arms. Back when we were in BT4, we were wondering whether or not, is it 2, is it 3, is it 2, is it 3? No, it's 2. You don't want to see this clogging up your hand. It's nice to see one in security every now and then to try and catch someone off guard, because it does happen, especially you get someone like red or whatnot if they don't got the right stack going. But yeah, I do think 2 of these is great, because especially with Lord Knight, like Lord Knight carries himself a lot more than War Greymon used to do, because it's just so big eventually as you're getting more and more out. So I found Volder, I've gone into Volder less than I used to, but it's still there, just great to try and like clear off that final bit of a board that you couldn't do. So, and it's also just an annoying thing to get rid of, because it's like you just gain through memory if you have to try and pop it. So I think it's still a great control tool, but I don't think it's as useful as it was in BT4, because we just got like so much more options available thanks to the LordKnightmon package.
Yeah, I can see if almost it could be at your detriment going into Volder, because there's points where you could have a higher DP with Lord Knight and you're dropping your DP just to, like, you are going to clear something off their board, but usually you've got enough combo pieces within. So maybe even look at, I don't know, to be fair, I saw a list the other day that ran no level 7s, and I think it ran 8 level 6s. It said played 3/1 more grey for Lord Knight, and that was the top list.
Yeah, no, I honestly, like, it's not like in any way, shape or form like a mandatory card like it used to be. I just like it because it's a giant thing in security sometimes as well, and it really can make that difference sometimes. And again, like, it's just that added utility of like, if you need to clear something to survive a turn or to potentially secure a game next turn, it's worth going into, and that's just when choosing whether you want to do it. So I do think it's still a good inclusion.
Yeah, it's definitely got its place still.
Yes, so I've opted for 3 Spiral Masquerade, just because I've found that, like, depending on your matchup, because of the most common deck at the moment, they like to seem to go wide, a lot of them. So I like being able to hard punish them with the spirals. It's also a card that activates the security, so again, it's another punishment tool. So if they swing and you've got a big board, and then you're doing a Spiral Masquerade, you can potentially like nuke their entire field still. It's also just another good way of utility. It's like, if you've got a big board going out and they're trying to go wide, you can just stop them immediately, and then you've got the gain of the massive momentum swing. I only played 1 Blinding Ray though. I'm not as big on this card as a lot of people are. I think it's good. I think it's good to be a one-off. But I find that the no security effect skill of this really does hurt it, because if you see it in security with the TK, you're like, oh, I've got to take this now.
Yeah, you're kind of forced into it at that point.
So I actually find it's good as a one-off, because with the amount that you're cycling through and the way that, because the way I play it is very control heavy. Like, I'm going to eventually see it anyway, and then you just hold it in your hand until you need it to the exact moment. But this card is used to secure game more than anything for me, because people just can't play around it. and then I also went with 3 TK. You want to see this guy, like, just having a TK out, he makes your security a second hand. He allows you to get your memory sorted out so they can't choke you. And it's just really good to see it security as well, because like if you swing up a hit with that, you're gaining advantage back and you're still getting your memory set up. So I do think 3 is probably the best for me. Like I can see people putting it to 2 or maybe even 1 in some instances, but for me it's invaluable to have, because it just gives you that extra bit of memory and that thing to potentially unbrick you as well, because like your hand could be absolutely trash. You've opened the TK, and that one card you might need to start your entire combo off could be in your security set. And I'll tell you, that has come up far too many times for me. That's why he's now still staying at 3, and there's no way I'm changing that.
So yeah, it sounds like you've this list is pretty much on lockdown now. Especially, to be fair, we come to the end of a meta, so I think this is the point where a lot of people are getting those final lists.
Well, I mean, we've got an extra month to do it now.
Well, yeah, from today they decided to push it back to November 4th, is it now?
Yeah, so the meta is, you never know, the meta could easily evolve even further. We know what we like when we try to get creative.
Yeah, we end up with a security control.
Yeah, let's not think about that, shall we? Yeah, so again, the Patamon ratio could change. That's pretty much the only card that I've seen that I could potentially change in it. I could like take it out and put a different rookie in. I could put an additional Lucimon in if I felt like I could do it. I could change one. I could add another Kote for more searching. There's a few different things that I could do. But I do think that the way that the list works and the way that it flows, it's really good, because this list is quite heavily tailored towards the mirror. Because I feel like tailoring it to a meta that's very much predominantly on the high tables of Lord Knight, because the deck handles most of the standard decks pretty easily anyway. So I feel like if I tailor it towards its worst matchups, aka itself, it's a lot easier to deal with things.
I mean, thank you for sharing this list with me. I personally stayed away. I've stayed away from meta decks this set. I've been playing a lot of different fun decks, trying to theory craft. The only knowledge I really have of yellow is where I've been looking at the decks weekly on the podcast. So it's nice to have like someone who's invested all that time into it and played it, like their insight on it.
Yeah, so like being on yellow since 1.5 with Shine, then going into War Grey and then back into this, it's like a natural sort of progression, really.
So what's the plan for BT7 then?
BT7?
Oh, sorry, BT6.
BT6, I need to stick with my branding. You can't be known as Royal Knight Inc. and not play Royal Knights. And of course, Jasmon's my favourite, so I may be betraying yellow and going over to red. But it's fine, Dynasmon's still in there. I will be building him. he will be in there, and we'll be building that stupid Royal Knight yellow deck that everyone's going to hate me for.
I mean, I look forward to seeing it. Usually finish quite high, if not top, in these tournaments. So I'm looking forward to see what you bring for us for the next set, or even what comes up over this the next month and a half before it comes up. Well, again, thank you for sharing this list. Anything else you want to say before we go?
Not that I can really say anything. Just give a shout out to everyone over at the Gordo server. Please join. It's a fun time there. The tournaments every week are very good. I started off as a mere noob, and here I am now, winning Omni Cups.
So as always, the link to join Gordo's games will be in the description. But yeah, come join in. There'll be a tournament every Thursday and Sunday, so I look forward to seeing you